Shalom. Peace. I'm your brother Gabor. This is Intelligent Hebrew. Today's lesson is let's get it together. This lesson is being given because, simple and plain, we need to get it together, y'all. Those of us who know better, brothers who growing beards out and wearing fringes, sisters who covering their head or wearing skirts, um, all of us trying to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. We need to get it together. It shouldn't. We're going to have a difference of opinion. There are going to be things that we disagree with. There are going to be times when, we just may not be in sync with one another. That happens. But nonetheless, we need to get it together. We can't let small differences, how we pronounce the Most High's name, um, you celebrate the lunar moon, I celebrate the solar moon, or whatever those things are. We shouldn't let those things be the reason that we're separated. We may not have to fellowship with one another, but we shouldn't feel like this person isn't in the truth or that person isn't in the truth. Okay. So real quick, let's start off. Let's go to Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1. Zephaniah 2 and verse 1. Zephaniah 2 and 1. Gather yourselves. I'm sorry about that, y'all. Zephaniah 2 and 1 says, gather yourselves together. Yeah, gather together, O nation not desired. This is what we need to be doing. We need to be gathering together. We need to be linking up. We need to be building together. If you celebrate on a certain day and I celebrate the same thing on a different day, man, we're celebrating the same thing and giving all the honor and glory to the Father. So we shouldn't have the separation. And let's get it together, man. It's a lot of work that needs to be done. Gathering the law sheet, waking up our brothers and sisters. So we need to gather together as those of us who know better so that we can get the ones who don't know better, right? Romans. Let's go to Romans chapter 2. Wait, let me see. Do I want some more of that? Yeah, that's all I wanted. Let's go to Romans chapter 12. Let's go to Romans 12 and 2. Although Zephaniah 2 verses 1 through 3 are actually really powerful together, but that I don't want to, take away from what I'm doing right now. Let's go to Romans chapter 12. Romans 12, I'm going to start at verse 10. This is the book of Romans 12, verse 10. And this is just, man, nobody's saying that we got to being up in each other's butt, kissing each other's butt, being a yes man. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we need to love one another. We need to treat each other right. We need to care for one another. We need to be looking out for one another. Maybe like I said, maybe we don't worship on the same days. Maybe we do it a little bit off by a couple of weeks, maybe ahead by a couple of weeks, maybe behind by a couple of weeks. Maybe we say it a little different, but we do, like I said, if we're trying to keep the law, statutes, and commandments, and we're trying to gather our people together to be one nation under those law, statutes, and commandments, and that's really our common thread, man. And we need to just get it together, and while we're getting it together, this is something that we really need to do. Let's go to Romans chapter 12. Like I said, Romans 12, I'm going to go to verse 10. This is the book of Romans chapter 12, verse 10. Be kindly affectioned one to another with brotherly love and honor, preferring one another. So we have to prefer one another. We got to choose each other first. The other nations choose each other before they choose us. They'll hire each other before they'll hire us. They'll house one another before they house us. They do business with one another before they do business with us. We need to prefer ourselves first. Prefer our services for each other, from each other, to each other first. We need to look out for one another first. If we have an apartment building, let's try to house our people. If we have a business and we need to hire, man, let's try to hire our people first. Let's look out for our people first. Let's look out for our nation first, right? And you know what that goes directly into? Go back to 10 and start at the very top line. What did he say? Be kindly affection one to another with brotherly love. That's a, and you can't tell me that that's not brotherly love. Today they call it nepotism, right? But in that same sense of it, if they can do it and they can succeed, and then they look at us and say, you know, why can't y'all pull yourself up by the bootstrap? Well, this is part of our bootstrap that we need to be pulling up on that brotherly love, on that kindly affection. Guess what? On that preferring one another over preferring each other. It says what? Prefer one another. We need to prefer one another. This is how we do that. This is the bootstrap that we need to be pulling on, right? Let me see. Let's go to stay in there. Go to verse 4. For we're going. This is Romans 12 and verse 4. We're staying in the same book, the same chapter. We're just going up to verse 4. For as we have many members in one body, and all members have not the same office, so we being many are one body in Christ, and everyone members one of another, having then gifts differing according to the grace that is given to us. Whether prophecy, let us prophesy according to the proportion of faith. Or ministry, let us wait on our ministering. Or he that teacheth, on teaching. Or he that exhorteth, on exhortation. He that giveth, let him do it with simplicity. He that rule, with diligence. He that show mercy, with cheerfulness. So he's just saying that in everything that we do, whatever your office is, whatever it is that you do, if you a captain, if you an officer, if you a soldier, if you a sower, if you a singer, if you a rapper, if you a chef, if you're a baker, whatever it is that your office is, man, let's get to it. Let's do it. Let's do it well. Let's do it with all. It's why he says in verse 8, with diligence. He that showeth mercy with cheerfulness. Like we should be doing these things with cheerfulness and with the love. Mercy is another form of charity or love, right? He says, let's read that verse starting up at verse 9. Let love be without dissimulation. Abhor that which is evil, cleave to that which is good. Then he says what we just went over. Be kindly affection one to another with brotherly love, and honor preferring one another. Not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. So in everything that we do and the things that we're supposed to be doing, let's be serious about it. Let's get to that work. Yeah. If you're a captain at this camp or that camp, man, be diligent in your work. Yes. If you're an officer and you're trying to and you want to climb the ranks so you could be a captain, okay, so what? Fine. But what we have to do is we have to stop with the separation with one another. We got to treat each other right. So what? I'm not in your camp. So what? I'm not in your congregation. We should speak to each other with a certain what? Kindly affection, right? Let's get down to verse 12. He says, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, continuing in instant prayer. We should be praying for one another. All the camps and congregations and individual lives. We should pray for all of them. Those are our people. We should be praying for the lost sheep. All the Jacobs, I like to call them out there. We need to be praying for them. We need to be looking out for them too, trying to gather them, trying to let them see, like, look, we are a nation that's rebuilding right now, and this is the nation that you belong to. You should help rebuild this nation, and that we're trying to rebuild it in righteousness. We're trying to rebuild it with love. A lot like the Nation of Islam said that they were rebuilding the nation. So there's more Science Temple of America say that they're rebuilding the nation. Well, if we're the nation of Israel, the one recorded in the Bible, the one that God has chosen to be a nation of kings and priests, then within our own community, within our own people, even within our own camps, yes, but amongst the camps, we need to have that unity. We need to what? Gather together. We need to prefer one another, right? Verse 13 says, distributing the necessity of saints given to hospitality. We need to be, man, you know what? This camp needs this. This congregation needs that. This sister needs this. This brother needs that. We should be there assuming and looking for an opportunity to look out for one another with that fervent love, with that sincerity, with the charity. Let's go to Romans 13. Romans 13. You know what? No, not that. Let's go to Matthew first, and then we'll get Romans. Matthew 22. Matthew 22. And what does he say? And you already know. If y'all know me, y'all know this one of my favorites. I use this a lot. Matthew 22, starting at verse 35. Then one of them, which was a lawyer, asked him a question, tempting him and saying, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? And Yahushua said unto him, for those of y'all who don't know no better, Yahushua is the Hebrew word for Jesus, right? Yahushua said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. So you understand that, man, all the law is simple and plain. We got to love the Most High God with all our heart, with all our soul, and with all our mind, right? What does that mean? That means no other gods before him, no other gods besides him, no other gods with him. What else does that mean? That means no idols. That means not taking his name in vain. That means honoring his Sabbath days, right? And then he says what? The second is like unto it, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. So when you love your neighbor as you love yourself, you're not going, you're going to treat them the way you will want to be treated, right? This is why it says on these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets, because they all deal with these two commandments. All the laws and all the commandments all deal with these two commandments right here. Love the Most High, love your neighbor, right? That's why he says on these two commandments hang all the law. They all deal with that. There's no way around it, right? Now let's go to Romans 13. So when you love your neighbor as you love yourself, what? Simple. Romans 13, starting at verse 8. If y'all know Gabar, y'all been if y'all deal with intelligent Hebrew, you know this one of my favorites. Romans 13:8. Oh, no man anything but to love one another, for he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law. For this, thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Thou shalt not covet. And if there be any other commandment, it is briefly comprehended in this saying, namely, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Love worketh no ill to his neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law. So you see the very last verse kind of tells you exactly what everything that I just read was saying. He said, love work no ill to his neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law. Why? Go back up to verse 9. Because if you love your neighbor like you love yourself, then what? Which is the second great commandment that we just read in Matthew 22, where he said that loving your neighbor is loving yourself. That's the second great commandment, right? This is why verse 10, Romans 13:10 says, love work no ill to his neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law. Because if you love your neighbor, you what? Verse 9, Romans 13:9. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Thou shalt not covet. And if you pay attention, these are the remaining commandments of the 10, right? You're gonna have your first ones that are to God, and then the rest of them are to man, right? And these are the ones that are to man. Don't steal, don't commit adultery, don't kill, don't bear false witness, and don't covet. If you love him, then you won't do those things. And we gotta get it together where we gotta come together and say, you know what? It ain't even worth it, man. This is my people. We gotta start looking out for one another in that manner. I'm not by no means am I saying go out and steal or kill or commit adultery with the other nations or on the other nations. I'm not saying that. I am saying that we need to have a certain honor and code, at least amongst ourselves and amongst each other. Let's go to Deuteronomy 22:1. Y'all already know Deuteronomy is one of my favorite books of the Bible. Deuteronomy 22:1. And it reads, Thou shalt not see thy brother's ox or his sheep go astray, and hide thyself from him. Thou shalt in any case bring them again unto thy brother. I went here, you know what? Let's get this other one. Let's get the precept to it. I went here because this is, we need to be on this. I said it earlier that we need to be trying to look out when I say prefer one another, and then we hit Romans 12, and then we was talking about how we gotta when we prefer one another, it was giving you understanding on different things, and one of the things that it said was how and we gotta not being slack in our business. And when it's hard, and I'm giving that precept because when I say our business, I mean looking out for one another, taking care of one another, giving each other the heads up when something ain't right. Trying to see who need help in your congregation, trying to see who need help in Israel as the nation. These are things that we should be doing. This camp need a facility. This camp need this. This sister need this. That brother needs that. Hey, them kids, you know what? We don't have no this for this holiday. You know what? Well, congregations might want to come together and say, you know what? We know we don't really deal with y'all like that. We know we don't congregate together, I should say. But let's come together. Let's figure out how we can help them with their facility. Let's figure out what we could do to help them. I ain't saying we got to put no bread together, but help look for something. Maybe you know somebody who can help us get into a building for a cheaper price, is what I'm saying. I'm not, when I say us, I'm not talking about me. I'm not looking for a facility. That's not. I'm talking about us as a nation doing things for one another. The scripture said, kindly affection, right? We just read where in Deuteronomy 22. Let's go back to it. But if you look at what it's talking about, these are kind acts. We need to be kind to one another. Deuteronomy 22:1. Thou shalt not see thy brother's ox or his sheep go astray, and hide thyself from them. So the scripture right here, the law, the commandment is telling you that if your brother lose something and you see that he lost it, you know that he lost something, don't hide yourself from him. Don't act like you don't know. Don't act like it ain't your business. No. And thou shalt not see thy brother's ox or his sheep go astray, and hide thyself from him. Thou shalt in any case bring them again unto thy brother. So you see what it's saying? It's saying that you help your brother do that. Help your brother get that right. Help your brother find it. Go to Deuteronomy 15, and we're gonna go to verse 7. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 15 and verse 7. Look, if there be among you a poor man, one of thy brethren. Y'all know this, one of my favorites. I pull this out all the time. And I'm not, by no means am I saying just be shelling out your money to everybody, man. But I'm saying as a nation, we need to have more compassion, more love, more sincerity. We need to look out for one another as a nation. The Israelite nation, all these different camps, all you congregations, all you camps, all you individualites, all you brothers, man. I'm talking to all Israel. We need to figure out a way that we need to look out for each other and more. Be kindly affectioned, right? He says, if there be among you a poor man, one of thy brethren, within any of thy gates in thy land, which the Lord thy God give thee, thou shalt not harden thine heart, nor shut thine hand from thy poor brother. But thou shalt open thine hand wide unto him, and shalt surely lend him sufficient for his need in that which he wanted. Now I'm bringing this out because, like I said, I'm not saying that we got to just be giving our bread away to everybody. That's not what I'm saying. But we need to figure out how we can help brothers and sisters with their rent, how we can help brothers and sisters with their groceries, how we can help brothers and sisters with gas, how we can help brothers and sisters in other congregations, how we can help the individualites, because this is, as the nation, our nation needs to see our nation, the brothers and sisters who are asleep, the lost sheep, they need to see us, those of us who are awake, those of us who are supposed to be found, those of us who are supposed to be walking this truth. They need to see us looking out and taking care of one another, because that's attractive to our people. Our people feel like there ain't no way out, and so this is why they move in a selfish manner. They feel like we don't have no unity. This is why we move in a selfish manner. We see gangbangers, so we move selfishly, right? Then we see camp banging, so what we do? We look at the brothers who know better, and then we still move selfishly because the brothers who know better are out here having separation and division due to just your congregation, due to your camp, due to your colors or your shirt when y'all street teach, due to how you say Yahweh or Yahuda or Yahweh or Yahshua, right? We let those kind of things bring division upon us to where the people on the outside see it, and it makes them move in a selfish way, because they feel like we being selfish, because they feel like we're not being any different from the world. So if the brothers who I should look to for the answers are acting like that, I can't be too wrong, right? Again, I'm not saying that we should be just giving our bread away to everybody who asks. I am saying that we should look out for one another. Find out, y'all know who need help in the congregation. Y'all can see it or y'all hear it, right? And if Deuteronomy 15:7, if there be among you a poor man or woman of one of thy brethren within any of thy gates in thy land, which the Lord thy God give thee. So when it's a poor brother or sister in our land, thou shalt not harden thine heart. We're not supposed to do that. Nor shut thine hand, nor close your hand from thy poor brother. Verse 8. But thou shalt open thine hand wide unto him, and shalt surely lend him sufficient. Now, let me make sure I say this to the person who probably going to try to find a way to use this to their advantage, because I know a lot of our people are opportunistic, right? But look, y'all, if you are the one who's in need, right, and brothers and sisters come to your aid, don't take advantage and it says lend him sufficient. If they lend it to you, pay it back. But this is the honor and respect that we need to have with one another. This is the preferring one another that we need to be doing with the honor and the respect, as well as the love and the compassion. These are the things that we need, right? This is why it says lend him sufficient. That means you got to pay that loan back, right? So let's not take advantage of each other on that level either. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter. Let me see. Is that what I want? 24. 21. Yep. Look, go to Deuteronomy 24, the book of Deuteronomy chapter 24 and verse 21. When thou gatherest the grapes of thy vineyard, thou shalt not glean it afterwards. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow. So it's going into it. And the verses above it are saying the same thing. So basically, if I have like an orange tree, and I pull all my oranges off the tree, whatever is left on the tree or whatever falls to the ground, I need to be leaving that to the less fortunate, to the poor, to the fatherless, to the widow, and to the stranger. I need to let them have that. This is the kind of love and compassion, the kind of consideration, the kind of preferring that the scripture is telling us that we need to have for one another. Right? Let me see if I think I got one more for us. Now look, in the same manner, I just gave the scripture where it said that we're supposed to leave that for them, right? But watch this. The Most High is right and exact all the time. He's telling us that we need to look out for them, and then he's telling the people who are less fortunate that we're looking out for, don't be greedy, right? Watch Deuteronomy 23 and 24. When thou comest into thy neighbor's vineyard, then thou mayest eat grapes thy field at thine own pleasure. So you can eat as many as you want, right? But thou shalt not put any in thy vessel. So don't go get no bucket. Don't go get a bag. No, eat what you going to eat. Eat as many as you going to eat. But don't go get something to start putting stuff in, right? Verse 25, when thou comest into the standing corn of thy neighbor, then thou mayest pluck the ears with thine hand, but thou shalt not move a sickle unto thy neighbor's standing corn. So you can pull up whatever you're going to pull up. You can pluck whatever you're going to pluck. Eat what you're going to eat. But man, don't go get a bucket. Don't go get a bag. I think you're finna start storing up. No, because now you going overboard. See, because as many as you eat, he said, eat till you full, right? Because when you're not you, if you eat 3, 4 apples, actually you're gonna be good. You're not gonna want any more apples, right? And so that way you're not overdoing it, and it's still he still have enough up there or enough left over or however it may go, right? But if you just gonna start now, once you go get a bag and you start putting them in there, you're gonna end up overdoing it because you're gonna try to take some. You're gonna try to take what you're gonna probably eat to your fill, and then you're gonna take enough for the next couple of days, maybe a week, right? And now who is that leaving the rest for? Or is that gonna make the person whose crops you eating out of? Is that gonna make their crops bare? Is that gonna start something that they can't recover from, right? So it's just saying we need to have an honor and respect, a code with one another, man. We need to get it together, right? We need to prefer one another, right? That's what the scriptures say. Let's go to let's stay in Deuteronomy 23. Let me make sure I want that one. Yeah, I do. Deuteronomy 23 and verse 19. Now watch this, y'all. We read where he said we should loan to our brother, right? Now, let's say you loan him $500. And then he come back with 500, and you like, no, you don't understand. See, you got to pay me back with interest, and so now you want him to pay you back the 500 plus an additional 250 for even loaning it to you, right? Well, let's see what the scriptures say about that, because this is part of the problem in our community is that we want to treat each other the way we want to treat the other nations, and what we need to do is what let's get it again. Let's go to Romans 12. I need y'all to keep it in mind. We read in Zephaniah 2, where he said what? Gather yourselves together, nation not desired. And then we got to go to Romans 12 and 2. And so once we gather together, what should we be doing? Simple. Romans 12 and 2. Man, I'm having a hard time getting there today, huh? Romans 12 and 2. So Zephaniah 2 and 1 says that we need to gather together, right? And then once we gather together, what should we be doing? Romans chapter 12 and verse 10 read, we need to be kindly affectioned one to another with brotherly love. In honor, so we need to start having honor with one another. But in honor, preferring one another. We need to love one another with affectionate love and have honor with one another, towards one another, and within ourselves, and prefer one another, right? What does it say? Let's watch. This is a way we can prefer one another. We got to get it together, y'all. This is a way that we love one another. This is a way that we prefer one another. This is a way that we can look out for one another. So let's say I loaned you 500, but now I want you to pay when you pay me back with the 500. I'm saying no, you need to pay me back 250 extra with interest, right? That's called usury in the Bible. And look what it says. Thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother. Usury of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury. That's why it says lent. Anything that you loaned out, you cannot add no usury to it, right? Unto a stranger, thou mayest lend upon usury. Now let's define usury. Let's look up usury. See, these are the things that we need to do as a nation when we look out for one another, right? We already said that we need to leave some food behind for or have food is what I should say. We should have food for the homeless, for the poor, for the widow, for the fatherless, and for the stranger. We read that, right? We need to leave food or have food for them. We need to have try to have some bread for our less fortunate, for our poor, right? Usury. Usury, the lending of money at exorbitant interest rates. A rate or amount of interest charged. So it's interest, right? It's interest. And so we're not supposed to lend to our people and put interest on there. But it says what? Unto a verse 20. Deuteronomy 23 and 20 says, unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury. So to the stranger, to the other nations, we could do that to them. We can tax them. We can add interest to them, but we shouldn't do that kind of stuff to our own people. Look out for them, man. How much you want me? 300, man. Give me 300 and get on out of here, man. You know what I mean? No, nobody's saying don't get your money, man. If the service was $500, then the service is $500. If the loan was $500, then the loan was $500. Don't add nothing else to it. But to the other nations, he said, unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury, but unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury. That the Lord thy God may bless thee in all that thou set thy hand to do. Set thy hand to in the land where thou go to possess it. Now, if you pay attention, look what he's saying right here. He's saying that if we don't charge our brothers and sisters interest when we give them a loan, he said he'll what? That the Lord thy God may bless thee in all that thou set thy hand to do. We'll get blessed in everything we do if we don't do that. So obviously we haven't been doing it. I can assure you that we don't do it now, you know. But because we want our money, and I understand that we want our money, you know. But we should be charging the other nations that interest, charging the other nations that tax instead of our own people, right? Let's get if you pay attention, the next couple of verses, they're going into stuff like vows. So when you give someone your word, we need to be being upon our word, right? Look, verse 21, and when thou shalt vow a vow unto the Lord thy God, thou shalt not slack to pay it, for the Lord thy God shall surely require it of thee, and it would be sin in thee. So we need to be make sure we be a man of our word, having honor in our vows as well. He's telling us this is how we need to take care of our people. This is how we what? Revelations 12 and 10. This is how we prefer one another. This is having kind affection towards one another, right? So we need to we shouldn't tax our brothers. We should honor our vows. We should prefer one another. Be kindly affection one towards another. But all of this has to come when we gather together, like we read, like we first started off with, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy 26. Deuteronomy 26. I'm going to go to verse 16. Deuteronomy chapter 26, verse 16, and it reads, this day the Lord thy God hath commanded thee to do these statutes and judgments. Thou shalt therefore keep and do them with all thine heart and with all thy soul. So this is what we need to be doing, keeping the law, statutes, and commandments with all our heart and with all our soul. And when I say us, when I say we, I'm talking to you so-called black people scattered to the four corners of the earth because of the transatlantic and Arab slave trade. You are the children of Israel. You're God's chosen people. You're God's children, according to the Bible. This book is written to, for, by, and about you. Let's start over. Deuteronomy chapter 26 and verse 16. This day the Lord thy God hath commanded thee to do these statutes and judgments. Thou shalt therefore keep and do them with all thine heart and with all thy soul. Thou hast avouched the Lord this day to be thy God, and to walk in his ways, and to keep his statutes and his commandments and his judgments, and to hearken unto his voice. And the Lord hath avouched thee this day to be his peculiar people, as he hath promised thee, and that thou shouldest keep all his commandments. This is what I really wanted to get out of this. Watch this. And to make thee, so if we keep his commandments, what's going to happen? To make thee high above all nations which he hath made. In praise will be higher or above all the nations in praise. People already praise our singing, our dancing, our rapping, our acting, our dressing, everything that we do, we get a lot of praise. People acknowledge our physical and outward greatness, right? But look, he says in praise and in name. Now that's something that we got to get back to. Being Israel, we got to come back to that name, understanding what that name is, understanding the power behind being that. Because if we be in Israel, you know what we're being? Let's get Exodus 19 real quick. Exodus 19, and we're going to go to verse 5. Hold that in Deuteronomy because we're going back there. But Exodus 19, I'm going to start at verse 5. Now, therefore, if you will obey my voice, so remember what he said, that if we keep his commandments, that if we keep his commandments, that he'll make us on high above the nations, right? Now, this is what he says. Now, therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. This is the same thing. He's telling us this is what happened. This is how we achieve that. The only way we achieve that is if we keep the commandments and we walk in his law, right? Not by religion. Religion has been a downfall and a stumbling block for our people. Islam, Christianity, and all the other ones. Even some of these, even science and atheism, in a lot of ways, is a religion. And so we go by that and we believe that, but we discount discredit and don't count the Bible as a good book to even study or read because of those things, science and atheism, because of the other religions, right? Or we try to mix it all together. But what we've never done is we've never truly come to the Father and really studied the book to find out what's the do's and the don'ts. What does he like and what does he dislike? How does he want us to do it? On what day did he say that we're supposed to worship him? We don't do that, right? We go to our religion. So this is why he says, if you will obey my voice, right, and keep my covenant, you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. This is what the scripture said. Verse 6, and you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests. This is what it means for us to be the children of Israel, to be above all nations and to be a kingdom of priests, and a holy nation, to be a holy nation. Holy means separate, set apart, peculiar, different. So it's supposed to be something different about us. What's supposed to be different about us? We're supposed to be a whole kingdom, a whole nation of priests. Not just is supposed to be some priests in our nation. Our whole nation is supposed to be like priests, right? And above all the people, back bottom line of verse 5, and we're supposed to be above all people, right? Now go back to Deuteronomy 26, and we're going to go to verse 19, and to make, let's start at verse 18. And the Lord hath avouched thee this day to be his peculiar people, as he hath promised thee, like we just read in Exodus 19, as he had promised you, and that thou should keep all his commandments, like we just read in Exodus 19. And when we keep the commandment, what's going to happen? Deuteronomy 26, verse 19. And to make thee high above all nations, like we just read in Exodus 19, and to make thee high above all nations which he hath made in praise. Like I said, they already praise us. They praise us for our athleticism. They praise us for our musical inclination. They praise us for everything, right? They already say how good we are. But those things are outward and in name. And in that name is where we're going to be the nation of kings and priests, representatives of the Most High. And because of that, we're going to be above them and what? And in honor. This is what we need to get back to, honoring one another. When the other nations see us keeping the law, such as commandments, and seeing us respecting and loving and honoring and preferring one another first with kind affection, according to the law, such as the commandments, the other nations will start to see us and they will honor us because they know who we are. There's a lot of them who know who we are. Sure, some of them don't, but there's a lot that do, and because of how we are towards one another, how we are with ourselves, because of how we treat our women, because of how the women treat the men, because of how we treat our children, because of how we raise our children, the things we allow, the things we think are cool, the things we move towards, the things we accept. These things have taken our honor away. Us following the religion that was given to us from our slave masters instead of us reading the scriptures for what it really say in itself, right? These things take away our name. So this is what he's saying. To make thee high above all nations which he hath made thee. He's going to make us higher above them in praise and in name and in honor, that thou mayest be a holy people unto the Lord thy God, as he hath spoken. And this is what we need to be trying to do. This is getting it together. This is preferring one another first, so that we can come back and be higher than the rest of the people in praise and name and in honor, so that we can be the holy people, right? This is what we need to do this, right? Exodus 19:5. I already read that. Give me let's go to Deuteronomy. Yeah, let me get First Peter first. Got to make sure I do it right, man. I just got a precept out the old, quote unquote, Old Testament. They're saying that we're supposed to be a nation of kings and priests. So I got to get it out the New Testament too, just to make sure it's balanced for anybody who's like, oh, well, that was all Old Testament. Just make sure it got some New Testament too, right? So let's go to 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. And we're going to pay attention to some of this too. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9, he says, but you are a chosen generation, a chosen generation, a chosen generation. Now we're going to unpack that in a minute, but we're going to read the rest of the verse. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood. See what he's saying? Royal means is related to kingdom, to the king, right? So we're a royal, a nation of kings, priesthood. We're a nation of kings and priests, right? A royal priesthood and a holy nation, a peculiar people, as we read in Exodus 19 and as we read in Deuteronomy 26. A peculiar people, that you should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. So us being a nation of kings and priests, him giving us honor above the people in what? In praise, in name, and in honor, right? When we do that, what does it do? Watch this. Go to the middle of verse 9, and it says, or towards the end of verse 9, he says what? That you should show forth the praises of him. Who was him? The Father. We're supposed to be showing forth the praises of the Father. But how are we doing that when we disrespecting this brother over here because he's not with the same congregation that we in? How are we doing that when we deal with each other with such dishonor, with lack of honor, with lack of respect, with a lack of love? We read where it said be kindly affection to one another. We don't want to do that. We don't even like to talk to each other in a respectful and rightful manner, playfully and lovingly. We like to be smart asses and be what's the word? Sarcastic, right? We like to do that kind of stuff, and we do that, and we feel like it's okay. That person know I love them, or it's okay. They know I'm playing with them, but it really, maybe we shouldn't play like that. Maybe we need to get past a certain point and establish the honor, establish the love. We need to establish these relationships. We need to gather together and rebuild our nation. Stop playing, right? We don't always got time for that. So let's unpack. But you are a chosen generation. The reason why it's saying that is because now more than ever, our people are waking up more and more saying that, yes, I'm a child of, I'm one of the children of Israel. Yes, I'm an Israelite. I'm a Hebrew Israelite. More and more of us are starting to say what? Oh yeah, we the true Jews. We the real Jews, the black Jews, the ancient Jews, or the ancient Israelites, the ancient Hebrews. This generation more than ever has been saying that. So we are the chosen generation. It ain't no point in us being separated by that, by how to pronounce that name or what day this is celebrated on, or ain't no point in us being separated in that. We're the chosen generation. So let's keep the things that make us who we are, but at the same time, let's prefer one another first. Kindly affection, right? And remember, Christ said, we got it in Matthew 22, where he said that we got to love our brother as ourselves. Well, he was quoting Leviticus 19, right? But he said that those two commandments were the things those are the two greatest commandments. Well, if those are the two greatest commandments, they probably are what? Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 12. This is the last one, Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 12. And now, Israel, what doth the Lord thy God require of thee? So it's required of us. It's not an option that we prefer one another. It's not an option that we look out for our homeless and our single parent household, or and our poor and our less fortunate. It's not an option. This is what's required of us. It's not an option that we prefer one another and that we be kindly affectionate to one another. There's nobody saying that we got to be best friends, but we need to be looking out for one another, right? And now, Israel, what does the Lord thy God require thee? He requires that we keep these commandments. He required that we love our brother as we love ourselves. He required that we look out for one another. He's requiring that we prefer one another, right? He's requiring for us to get it together. And now, Israel, what does the Lord thy God require thee? But to fear the Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways, and to love him, and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul. To keep the commandment of the Lord and his statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good. And so we need to love one another. That's part of the law. That's part of the commandments. That's part of the statutes. We need to prefer one another. We need to be kindly affectionate towards one another. We need to take care of us as a nation. We need to start looking out congregation to congregation, individual light to congregation, congregation to camp to individual light. We need to start looking out for one another. If y'all know brothers and sisters, man, look out for it. Man, what you need, Doc? You all right? Hey, sis. Yeah, we heard that the boy going to school, he might need some shoes. Maybe we can help out. Everybody just throw like $5 at it. We could throw that towards the boy's shoes or something, right? Just saying, I hope I didn't babble. I hope y'all got the message. I hope I relayed it well. I hope that this planted the seed or tilled the ground or watered the plant, but of course, the Most High gives the increase. And as always, I give all honor, praise, and glory to the Most High, and none for myself. Man, I'm your brother Gabar. This is Intelligent Hebrew. With that, I'm gonna say shalom. Peace.